And what do you think might be done by someone who was competent if they were inclined to redress that lack?
I don't think there's I don't think there's anything that can be done with either Iran or Hezbollah except from a position of real strength. And Hezbollah really is just it's a proxy for the Iranians, as are the Houthis in Yemen.
Right.
And they're very dangerous. And they don't accept any Look, I'll give you an example, which is kind of heartbreaking. Lebanon's a very poor country. They have a significant offshore gas deposit that could be commercialized very much for the benefit of the people in Lebanon. There's a question of who owns it. I mean, it's kind of right on the seam of Israel's territorial waters and Lebanon's territorial waters. Israel is willing to make a deal to solve that maritime dispute, where they'll get some of the gas and Lebanon will get some of the gas. Lebanon would get a lot of gas. It would make a big deal for their economy. Hezbollah won't let them make the deal.
Yeah, that's. What about behind the scenes negotiations? Like if the political leaders in the Shiite community can't pull this off, then is there another level of people in Shiite culture or in other countries? As you reached out to the UAE and Sudan and Morocco, etc., could you walk around Iran in the same way?
No, unfortunately not. I mean, I'm sure there are people of the Shiite faith who are reasonable, but the Shia who control weaponry are in Iran and in Lebanon and in Syria and in Iraq and in parts of Yemen. And they're all militant terrorists. They all take their instructions from Iran, and there really isn't an opportunity there. The opportunity is for the moderate Muslim world to unite with America and with Israel, and this threat can be defeated. I have no doubt this threat can be defeated, but I don't think right now it can be solved except through the strongest of positions taken by our allies.
Okay. So let's close this up maybe with discussion about the response in the West. I was a late learner about the Abraham Accords. I mean, the world's been pretty weird in the last couple of years, and I was also very ill, and I sort of emerged from that and was informed about the Abraham Accords by some people on the ambassadorial front and became extremely interested in them for three reasons. First of all, because, well, look, peace is breaking out in the Middle East, and so that was one, and isn't that surprising? And then also curious because given that this is, as far as I can tell, a truly historic accord, I would have hoped that it would have been like front page 2-inch type news on the New York Times, for example, and that everybody everywhere would know about all its details. And then furthermore, that the people who structured it were not only nominated for the Nobel Prize, which is not that difficult a process to be nominated, but actually awarded it, since this actually constituted peace. And I couldn't help in my cynical, musings, contrast that with the willingness of the Nobel Committee to give a peace prize to Barack Obama before President Obama even had a chance to demonstrate whether or not he was a peacemaker on the international scene. And so what, in your estimation, has been the response in the West among intellectuals and the press, and then among, well, let's say the American people and people in the West more broadly?
Well, look, the attention from the press has been disappointing. We had a ceremony on September 15th on the South Lawn of the White House. That day, the picture of Trump and Netanyahu and the leaders of Bahrain and UAE, it made the front page of all the major papers. So we got one good day out of it. But the way it's been expanded and the way it's flourished, the effect it's had on the people of Israel, the people of UAE, the optimism and opportunity it's brought to the Middle East, none of that has been covered at all. And I think it's all because it came from from us, from the Trump administration.
Yeah, but that's no bloody excuse here. That's no excuse. Like, this transcends the political as far as I'm concerned, and I think as far as anybody reasonable would be concerned. And it's important to give the devil his due, and that's the case even if the devil happens to be Trump and his damned minions. And the facts seem to me to be clear on the ground that this represents a significant and very unexpected move forward on the peace front in the Middle East, and that's been a problem that has threatened all of us for 70 years, for longer than that, on all sorts of fronts. And so
Yes.
the fact that people don't want to give Trump credit for this because he's Trump, that is still utterly inexcusable. I really don't understand it, because it means in some real sense that the narrow political enmity that was directed towards Trump, for better or for worse, for warranted or unwarranted, I don't really care. That's not the issue. The issue is that under Trump, this extremely significant event occurred. I think it's significant in the same way that the fact that Trump didn't entangle the United States in any stupid wars for 4 years was significant and also extremely underplayed. I mean, at least he managed that, and that's not nothing. But then to also cap his 4 years, which were definitely conducted under extreme duress and intense corrosive cynicism, again, regardless of his flaws, to cap that with the Abraham Accord, and then to be ignored by intellectuals in the West, denigrated and at minimum damned with faint praise, and then also to be ignored by the Nobel Prize Committee, that's not just politics. That's a kind of willfully blind corruption that's unforgivable in its depth.
You won't get an argument out of me. You know,
Am I overstating it? I mean, are there reasons that you and I aren't delving into why this hasn't been more celebrated? Like, because I don't want to devolve into the narrowly political here. You know, I'm really trying to understand this. And the Abraham Accords, they're enough to bring a tear to your eye if you have any bloody sense.
Well, look, if you let's just be clear. I mean, this was not a question of neglect. This was an affirmative decision by the media and by the Democratic Party to minimize the benefits and the impact of the Abraham Accords. Remember, you know, early on, the first year of the Biden administration, the State Department spokesman was asked about the Abraham Accords, and he would say, yes, you know, these are normalization agreements where we're going to work on, you know, advancing normalization agreements. And the reporter would say, why don't you